Welcome to the Authority File, the academic library podcast from Choice, brought to you by Taylor and Francis. I'm Bill Mickey, the host of the podcast and the editorial director at Choice. This week, I'm joined again by Stephanie Davis-Kahl, scholarly communications librarian and professor at Illinois Wesleyan University, and Dylan Burns, digital scholarship librarian at Utah State University. And we wrap up our conversation about institutional repositories by talking about how Stephanie and Dylan are sustaining their IRs, how they plan to continue growing them, and their favorite objects contained within them, so far at least. Okay, so we've talked a little bit about partnerships with groups outside the library on campus and what their work with the IR is like. Let's talk a little bit about why those partnerships have been important to sustaining your institutional repository. And maybe let's start with Stephanie on this one.
So partnerships with faculty are key. I think that's a known. That's something that everybody talks about and everybody struggles with. I think because the demands on faculty time are pretty heavy. Mm-hmm. Outside of faculty, I've talked a little bit about admissions. The competition for students is pretty fierce. Illinois is, I think, number 2 on the list of states where students migrate out to college. So we're facing demographic challenges. Demographic challenges are something that all schools are concerned with, especially small private liberal arts schools. So the more evidence of student engagement and student achievement and student creativity and that faculty mentorship, the more evidence of that we can give to admissions through the repository, the easier we will make their jobs. Mm-hmm. So that's been a partnership that we've been developing over time. Same with university communications. If we can give, they issue press releases about student awards, about our annual undergraduate research conference. If we can give them really compelling work to weave into the stories that they write, that will help communicate who we are and what we do well to a much broader audience. And then, outside campus, we have a pretty tight-knit group of other Digital Commons customers that they may not be partners in the traditional sense, but it's a great community to bounce ideas off of and ask questions. So, those partnerships are also important for me as a coordinator, as a IR manager. And then, of course, our students who, you want them to be cognizant of the impact that their research may have, but you also want them to be cognizant of the roles and responsibilities they have as authors and creators. Mm-hmm. So making sure they understand that as well.
Right. Okay. Dylan, anything to add? I mean, what have been some of the more important drivers of growth for USU's Digital Commons?
I think I'd like to echo that the community of Digital Commons users is really invaluable to us. I think that's something that, if I ever run into something weird, I know that I can talk to the Google group and sort of ask questions and that sort of stuff and learn a little bit about what other people are doing. I think, we have our partnerships are kind of they're central to sustaining our institutional repository. We need to have faculty who buy in. We need to have administrators who buy in. We need to have students who buy in. We need, and that is, from my angle, that's not always, it doesn't seem like it's going to be a difficult, task to sell. folks on this, but I have to remember that I have been, indoctrinated by librarianship. So we have had to kind of develop these kind of, how do we convince an undergrad to give us material, or how do we convince researchers to do it? Or, we have a creative writing program. How do we ensure them that their creative writing projects that are deposited in the IR are safe? And so it's been, we have to meet people where they're at and what they're sort of looking for. And those end up sustaining us, is that we know that if we, if I meet with a faculty member for a couple hours, 1 week, I know that in 6 months, when someone asks them about Digital Commons or asks them about the library, that they will say, oh yeah, the library's great. They helped me with this. They, did all this for me. And I think that's key, especially in times of, austerity budgets in state governments and that sort of stuff. It's important to have those kinds of allies to stand up for the library, that are outside of the library, that can attest to our value.
So if you were to pass on any advice, I guess, in that regard, I mean, we can stay on this line of thought, in terms of what's been successful for you, with, that outreach that you're performing, Dylan, anything specific that you can point to, or even anecdotally, or in terms of what's been successful in promoting the repository?
Yeah, I think one thing, I really do think that the most successful times that we have in outreach are these personal connections that we are fostering between individual researchers and the library. Yeah. I think that we've had some success with larger initiatives with our graduate school or with our research office, and that's kind of those sorts of larger entities. But our one-on-one sort of work with faculty to show off what the institutional repository can do have been really fruitful. One of the challenges that I think is might be unique to USU, but I would think that other schools may run into this problem, is we have a tenure database system. I don't exactly know how to explain it. It's like this kind of it's just this kind of, it's a hoop. I'm just going to call it a hoop. That's what it is, and that's what everyone views it as. It's called digital measures, and it's proprietary. So it's lots of schools have it, and basically it's a way that the administration can kind of keep track of how many presentations we do, how many publications we do, that sort of stuff.
Okay.
But it has a very similar name to Digital Commons, digital measures, Digital Commons. Now, if you ask faculty members on Utah State's campus, what do you think of digital measures? They will look disgusted and be sort of, not happy, because they view it as kind of a hoop that they're sort of made to jump through to justify their tenure cases. And that's kind of, it's a little bit of a housekeeping thing. But because its name is so similar to Digital Commons, we have this kind of confusion that goes on where we have to say, no, I'm with Digital Commons. That's not associated with digital measures. Please don't immediately reject my emails, that sort of stuff. So it's kind of it's a difficult thing. So, so we have to spend a lot of time explaining to our faculty that no, we're, kind of, and we do that by basically trying to take all of the brain work and all of the leg work out of faculty hands, because faculty on our campus, and I think faculty all over, are extremely busy people, and the last thing they want to do is probably fill out more forms or check the copyright on things or do that kind of housekeeping stuff. So we leverage our staff and our staff time to be able to say, you know what, Dr. So-and-so, send me an article. We will put it up, and just make it as easy as possible for them so that they don't see it as another sort of hoop that they have to jump through. So that's been a really kind of essential thing for us to sustain these partnerships.
Right. And then Stephanie, any lessons you've learned along the way, a principle or two that you'd like to impart on other libraries in similar situations?
Sure. I agree 100% about the relationship piece that Dylan mentioned, and also having an awareness of all the different demands that faculty and administrators have on their time and energy. I think it's really important to be flexible and agile. If you have a plan in place for the collections you want to pursue over the course of a year, and somebody comes to you with another idea, service that idea right then and there. Under promise and over deliver, I think, is also really important. Not that you shouldn't be frank and honest about what you can do, but it's always good to come back to somebody to say, we've done this, and then we've also done these 3 other things that will enhance what you originally asked for. And really, I think that applies to really any library service. And then also just having a plan, knowing your mission and measuring what you're doing against your mission to make sure that you are following that, and ask for feedback all the time. That's something that has served us well and has helped us grow over time. So hopefully that helps.
After listening to the needs of the librarian community, Taylor and Francis is happy to announce the recent launch of a single destination platform for their digital products, Taylor and Francis eBooks. Featuring over 90,000 titles of award-winning academic content written by a global network of editors and authors, Taylor and Francis is eager to spread the word, offering key subjects such as science, technology, engineering, medicine, humanities, and social science. Taylor and Francis eBooks puts a world of knowledge at your fingertips. Experience increased functionality, an intuitive dashboard, and gain quick access to the key information you need to make managing your collections as easy as possible. You can also explore their open access ebooks in business, science, social science, psychology, and much more. To request a free trial of any of their collections and to try out the new platform for yourself, visit www.taylorfrancis.com. That's taylorfrancis, all one word, .com. So, I mean, you mentioned mission, Stephanie. I'm wondering, does it ever get challenging to sort of reconcile what the mission is versus what the IR could potentially be used for, especially as new types of formats come into play or elements to specific research projects, or just new opportunities to put new types of things into the repository. I mean, is there any danger ever of mission creep or losing control of what the repository was originally intended to be, or do you embrace those opportunities whenever they come up?
I think personally, I embrace those opportunities, and we were purposefully broad when we wrote our mission for the repository, because we knew that there. We hoped there would be all these different demands from different corners of campus. So when we wrote our mission, we were very purposefully broad in the scope of what we hope to achieve. So I think that helps. I think if we had entered into with only focusing on faculty or only focusing on students, there would be a danger of mission creep. But I look back and I'm thankful that we were very we were hopeful enough. Maybe we were naive enough to really have a very broad approach.
So that's worked out well for you then, I guess.
I think it has.
Yeah.
I think
Okay.
there have been a couple times when, like we have a collection of faculty interviews with our local NPR affiliate, WGLT,
Right.
and at the time there were a couple people in the library who were like, "Well, wait a minute, this isn't material that's created on campus. It's about our faculty." And my response was, yes, it's about our faculty and it's about their research and scholarship, which are things that happen on this campus, and also things that inform their teaching and how they work with students. So if that's mission creep, I'm okay with that.
Dylan, how about you? I mean, it sounds like, from our conversation that you'd be in agreement with all of that.
Yeah, I definitely am. I think that we also have a really broad mission statement, and our mission statement for a while was basically, it was a decision tree that basically said, is it associated with the university? Is it not associated with the university? Right. And that is how we made our decisions, and that has led to I think a significant amount of mission creep. But I'm excited by those opportunities because we're pushing, out of the traditional role of the institutional repository. We're pushing into doing, digitizing the yearbooks, or we're, doing the commencement programs, or now we're doing the presidential papers, or we're working on taking the administrative papers of a grant funded project. And that's not the research output, that's the administrative papers. And that's a little bit outside of what our original mission was. But if it can do it, it can do it. And it's cool. It's not going to, and there's always a danger, especially in the digital world, that, where is this stuff going to go if it's born digital and we don't take it in the institutional repository, because it may just go away.
Yeah.
So we see these as opportunities to kind of get outside of our scope a little bit, kind of push that boundary, but they're opportunities that we can't really pass up, and we don't want to. And we want to, I think our mission is so broad and so easily malleable that we can kind of make it whatever we want. And if it's to start collecting these oddball items, then we might as well.
Stephanie, you mentioned the NPR affiliate. I'm wondering if that's a particular highlight for your repository, if there was any other object in there that you would be really interested in showing off, and what that might be.
Oh, sure. Yeah, I love the WGLT collection. I think it's just really interesting to hear how faculty talk about their work. On the student side, there is an honors project that is near and dear to my heart. It's called Addressing the Elephant in the Room, Understanding the Daily Life of Undocumented Latino High School Youth. And so this, I just love this example because it's an honors project. It's a scholarly examination of the 1.5 generation, undocumented students who were born abroad and brought to the U.S. by their parents at an early age. So this is from 2013. This is from 5 years ago. And here we are at this time in our history where this is, a hot topic would be a gross misunderstatement. Right. So this is a scholarly treatment of this topic, but the author, Sylvia Rusin, also wrote a guide for guidance counselors as part of an internship she did with the Illinois Coalition of Immigrant and Refugee Rights. So both of these are in our repository, as is her other's honors thesis that she did in Hispanic Studies and a poster presentation that she did on this topic at our undergraduate research conference. So, and her Hispanic Studies honors paper is also about the 1.5 generation and Cervantes. So I think it's this wonderful collection of scholarly and that signature experience work that we have all of these different pieces in the repository, and we've linked to all of them from each record. And it's a really wonderful summation and documentation of this student's multifaceted work in this area.
Yeah.
So that's my favorite. And she's just this really energetic, dedicated person as well. So that's
nice. Okay. And Dylan, how about you?
My favorite item in our collection is actually, I feel like on the surface it's pretty boring, but it's fascinating to me. I have no idea what it's about. It's a thesis. Its title is Discharge Coefficient Performance of Venturi Standard Concentric Orifice Plate and V-cone and Wedge Flow Meters at Small Reynolds Numbers.
Okay.
And I have no idea what it's about. No idea. I will never know what it's about. But it's a thesis that went up into the repository in 2011. It is the most downloaded item in our collection. It's been downloaded 88,000 times. And this was a master's thesis. And it's one of my favorite objects to show off to student researchers, especially to kind of show the value of putting their thesis or putting their work into the repository. Mm-hmm. Because, I mean, just imagine like having something you wrote downloaded that many times, especially someone who is a student, somebody who, recently graduated. That's something that this student can point to and celebrate and see tangible impact. I mean, this has been cited a bunch. And it's funny. About a year ago, I ran into the advisor and I said, "Oh, one of your thesis students is really having you've probably seen that. It's really having a field day in Digital Commons." And the advisor had no idea. So I showed him and he was completely, blown away that this project that they had worked on together was so popular and so influential, in the last handful of years on this topic that, again, I have no idea what it's about. But it's really kind of neat to show students that, because we have students who are really shy about their work, that are really shy about their thesis or something. And, I understand that. I don't know that I want a whole lot of people reading my master's thesis, but, when I point to that and I say, this is the kind of impact that you could have if your work is out there, you can be part of the larger scholarly conversation. Right. I think that kind of, it brightens their kind of outlook on this, terminal degree that they're getting, this final, capstone to their graduate work. So it's really exciting to show that to students.
You just heard Stephanie Davis-Kahl and Dylan Burns. This concludes the final episode on examining the institutional repository landscape. This episode was brought to you by Taylor and Francis. Find all of the episodes of the Authority File on your favorite podcast app or on our website, choice360.org. Just click on the librarianship dropdown. To download the white paper on the evolution of institutional repositories that Judy Luther and Choice published, click on the same librarianship dropdown and select white papers. That's all for this week. Thanks for joining us.